National Cancer Institute, NCI, has on their website that cancer is a genetic disease. And the federal government is dishing out, hundreds of millions of dollars to the cancer grants, hunting for genes and doing deep sequencing of mutations and building immunotherapies to attack cells to make them. I mean, all of that is based on a flawed theory of what the disease is. But the problem is the momentum that has built up by both the academic and pharmaceutical industries around the view of this disorder being a genetic disease. It's almost like a tsunami. It's such a powerful momentum. And you tell, and the hard science says it's not a genetic disease. The nuclear transfer experiments show that. We're now finding driver genes, which are supposed to be the ones that make your cancer grow faster. We're finding all these driver mutations in normal tissues of our body that never form cancer. There are some cancer cells that have no mutations. So when you have all of these kinds of pieces of information that are not consistent with the theory, then you have to say maybe the theory under which we're treating patients and developing therapies and all this is not correct. And the evidence that we have over 1,600 people a day dying in this country, and it's now starting to replace heart disease throughout the world, and yet we're spending all this money, and people say, well, how come we're not making any progress? And the answer is because the theory is wrong. The theory is not correct. And as long as people think it's a genetic disease, we'll never have any major problem. I mean, every now and then you get some spectacular response on one of these immunotherapies, but they don't talk about how many people were killed by the immunotherapies. There's this term called hyper-progressive disease, where the immunotherapy will cause either the cancer cells to die so fast, or the immunotherapy will go after some of your other organs and kill you faster than the cancer. And it's not insignificant. You're talking about 18 to 20% of the people being killed by the therapies.
Wow.
And then why would you want to poison and irradiate somebody to make them healthy in the first place? I mean, you see bald-headed children, people, they have to put a scarf. Why are you bald? Oh, I'm responding to the chemo. Well, the cancer is not in the end of your hair follicle. The cancer is in some organ in your body. Why don't you kill the cancer cells? You don't have to go bald. They don't think that way. As I said, metabolic therapy, as a matter of fact, metabolic therapy makes your hair, you get healthier overall. So why would you want to do anything other than metabolic therapy? The problem is you go and you run to the hospital where the experts are there, the so-called experts. And then when you start to pepper the experts with specific questions, they look like a deer in the headlight. They have no clue. And that tells you right off the bat. I have a specific series of questions. I tell cancer patients, ask this of your oncologist. And if he gives you really accurate and good, stick with that guy. He knows what he's doing. If they look at you and say, no, eat as much cake and ice cream, and no, I never heard of that. You're staring at you're working with the Grim Reaper on some of these things. And yes, I don't want to say all of our standard of care therapies have not been successful. We have millions of cancer survivors in this country and around the world who have survived their cancer by toxic treatments. But many of these folks pay a significant health price for that management. They have neuropsychiatric problems, digestive problems, hormonal problems, bone density problems. They have all kinds of other metabolic ailments that they didn't have, but for the fact they survived toxic treatments to manage their cancer. And this is all, to me, quite unnecessary. And but if you go and talk to the folks, they tell you, well, if it were so important, we'd have clinical trials. I would have heard about this. People would be talking about it. Well, they are talking about it. I published a paper in the Scientific. I mean, they're all open access. You don't have to have a membership to any particular journal. You can read the papers. You can discuss. But it's this wall of resistance. It's a dogmatic view that cancer is a genetic disease, and you can't tell the brain that you've been indoctrinated to believe this. And when somebody says it's not it's not right, I just simply can't believe you. So you run into a lot of systems like this. But eventually, people will come to know it's a metabolic disease.